Got a question here. What is the one most important, most fundamental, most key principle of copywriting? How does one even begin to answer this? I could give you the sort of answer that we gave in some of the major videos that we did, to teach beginners the fundamentals of copy, like the 22-hour mega course or, other things on the main channel, which is very simply persuasion. For persuasion sits at the heart of every single type of copy. It is the most fundamental principle of copywriting. If you cannot persuade your reader either directly or indirectly, you're failing as a copywriter. That's it. If you can't be persuasive, you're failing. What persuasion means depends on the context and it depends on the kinds of copy. Like, for example, a Coca-Cola ad does not need to be persuasive in the same way that, like, a direct response sales letter selling a course needs to be. Coca-Cola does not need to remind you of all the features and benefits of Coca-Cola. But it is important for that brand to stay in people's consciousness, to stay in the social zeitgeist, which is why brand advertising is so big and why multi-billion-dollar companies spend so much money on it. But I have a feeling that most of you are not going to be satisfied with persuasion is the most fundamental principle of copywriting thing, because you were all probably like, oh, John, I already knew that. I'm like, well, then why did you ask me the most important fundamental, the most important thing in any fucking context is always going to be probably the most common thing that people say, or the thing that you probably assumed to be correct. Now, let's see if we can come up with like a spicier or more contrarian answer to this question. What is the one most important fundamental principle of copywriting? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say a thing that I know is 100% incorrect, but by gum and by golly, for the purposes of this answer, it is the only thing that I've ever said that is completely true, and it is this, which is that the most important fundamental principle of copywriting is your ability to recognize and change tactics and strategies when the occasion calls for it. I know, based on the things that I said earlier in this answer, that there are many copywriters out there who have a very absolutist and purist view of copy. Good copywriting needs to be like, have features and benefits and be intriguing and blah. And they everything that doesn't fall into like this narrow category of copywriting is bad copywriting, and you should feel bad for thinking about writing it. No. A good copywriter recognizes that different people respond to different appeals at different times and in different contexts. So not only do you need to change the actual persuasion you use to appeal to different people at different times and different contexts for different products, but also you need to understand that you need to write a different way for different people at different times and in different contexts. Direct response copy is really, 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 really good for very specific use cases. And it's really, really bad in others for certain types of people, for certain types of readers, for certain types of products, and for certain types of prospects and in certain types of contexts. You can make a lot of money as a UX copywriter, arranging like what buttons should say, or like designing a little logo that tells people like how they should put together some type of furniture. UX copywriting, it's great. You're going to be writing a lot of manuals. And guess what? If you want to start a UX copywriting agency and scale that business, you absolutely can. Plenty of people have done that. But the key thing there is you understood that not everything is ever absolutely so. So in this particular context, in this particular conversation, I'm going to say that the most fundamental and important principle of copywriting is your ability to be open-minded and to be flexible and to be able to shift tactics and strategies based on all the different factors that affect somebody's emotional and buying decisions. That is something that I don't hear very many people talk about. And therefore, I'm going to say that it is absolutely correct. Nobody has ever said anything more intelligent about copywriting than I just did right then. That's the end of the video. Goodbye.